Uh, I'd like to quote Arthur C. Clarke: "The only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible." Digitalization is actually has changed the way business is conducted. The sustainability model have changed. The innovative models have changed.
I'm audible,
Technology,
sir?
yeah, right. You're audible now. You may continue.
So digitalization is revolutionizing the way business is conducted within industrial value chains through the use of Internet of Things technologies, intensive data exchange, and predictive analytics. However, technological application on its own is not enough. Profiting from digitalization requires business model innovation, such as making the transition to advanced service business models. Yet, many research gaps remain in analyzing how industrial companies can leverage digitalization to transform their business models to achieve sustainability benefits.
Specifically, challenges related to value creation, value delivery, and value capture components of business model innovation need further understanding, as well as how alignment of these components drive sustainable industry initiatives. Furthermore, we believe that business innovation with a digitalization approach is an effort to improve series in all operational lines to achieve profitable and sustainable business goals.
With great joy and immense exultation, a very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Hardik Sahani,
And I, Kashish Dodwani,
welcome you all as the host of valedictory session of Internet Conference 2022. Digitalization, innovation, transformation, and sustainability in business management and social sciences.
before we begin, let me acknowledge the presence of our eminent guest.
I extend my welcome to Madam Hilary Ikahan, Associate Vice Chancellor for International Affairs at IUPUI and Indiana University. We are extremely grateful to you, ma'am. I welcome Mr. Vivek Chaturvedi, Vice President, Business Analytics at Kotak Mahindra Bank. Thank you for joining us, sir.
The pleasure is mine.
Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Anil Vashish. Thank you, sir, for being a strong pillar of support for each and every Emitian. It is my privilege to appreciate the presence of all the faculty members and students present here. We are grateful to have you.
The fragrance of flower spread in only the direction of the wind, but the goodness of a person spreads in all directions. With this quote, it is my privilege to introduce our guest, Ma'am Hilary Ikahan. Hilary Ikahan is an Associate Vice Chancellor for International Affairs at IUPUI and Indiana University Associate Vice President for International Affairs. She is also an Associate Professor of Anthropology, editor for Framing the Global Book Series with IU Press, Chair of the Executive Committee, and inaugural member of National Academy of International Education. As well as she is the member of APLU's Commission of International Initiatives Executive Committee. She has served on multiple advisory boards and she is the past president of the Association of International Education Administrators, AIEA.
Madam Hilary has been the principal investigator for dozens of successful grants, including a current collaboration between IUPUI and Ivy Tech Community College that internationalizes the first-year experiences at both institutions. Before IUPUI, Hilary Ma'am was Assistant Dean for International Education and Global Initiatives, Director of the Center for the Central Study of Global Change, and the Director of PhD Minor in Global Studies at the Hamilton Lugal School of Global and International Studies at Indiana University, Bloomington. She's also the author of multiple articles, chapters, and 4 books. Ma'am, I request you to come and add up to the discussion and illuminate all gathered here.
Well, thank you. Thank you very, very much for that warm and very thoughtful introduction. So thank you. I want to thank everybody, in fact, all of our esteemed members from Amity University for the kind invitation and warm hospitality. I was with you all, as many of you know, a few months ago, and that was such a delight to actually be able to visit with you at Amity, but it's a sincere honor. So thank you to all of you who are in attendance with us today, and those from Amity who I've already had an opportunity to get to know. So thank you so much. I'm going to talk to you today about the background of everything that you've been discussing already today. You know, the broader context. As my introduction demonstrated, I've done a lot of work in global studies, in internationalization, in global learning, in how to frame the global. Now, and so there's, and on top of that, I'm an anthropologist. I'm actually a visual anthropologist. So I might even throw in some visuals later to end my presentation. But I'm going to give you the bigger picture of what global is, what knowledge is, and the role of sustainability and collaboration and interaction in producing new knowledge today in the 21st century. Because today, knowledge is very different, right? Knowledge in the 21st century is a completely new phenomenon. It no longer emerges from singular and isolated sources of deep knowledge, but rather it comes from international partnerships, from interactive communities, and interdisciplinary conversations, like the conversations you've been having today. The image of an isolated scholar theorizing alone under an apple tree has been replaced, for example, by the multitudes of scientists from around the world who have currently been working together on the Event Horizon Telescope, which has produced the image of the first image of the black hole at the center of our galaxy. So while learning has become more collaborative and very international, its emphases are also shifting. So alongside the more traditional emphasis on what is learned, higher education is increasingly about how things are learned. Knowledge is no longer envisioned increasingly as a limited resource that a select few access, right? But it's rather understood as a form of energy that flows through systems and networks. And the goal of students is to tap into that knowledge flow. Knowledge has fully gone global. And the IUPUI campus in Indianapolis is certainly global, as is Amity University. And again, that is why we're so delighted to have such a partnership with Amity. IUPUI, for those of you who don't know, stands for Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis. We're the only campus that we know of that can offer degrees from two campuses, from two universities, Purdue and Indiana University. We're a very unique university in the middle of the United States, downtown Indianapolis, as you can see from my background. And this background is actually quite relevant because it's probably taken at about the time it is now. At IUPUI, this city, though, is part of the learning experience. And we're very proud of our connections with the city. We are home to a number of multinationals: Lilly, Dow, Cummins, Rolls-Royce. Infosys is also based in Indianapolis for its North American headquarters. And our students can take advantage of all the connections that we have in the city and around the world. We also have 17 schools, just to mention, including the Kelley School of Business, informatics, computer science, neuroscience, economics, public health. We can keep going. The largest school of medicine in the United States. And we have approximately 1,750 international students. And I'm very proud to say that approximately half of them are currently from India. Now, of course, that's probably not that surprising. We know that India is the world's second largest higher education system, with around 38 million students in 50,000 academic institutions. It's enormous. Further, India is now the second largest source of international students globally. You all are getting around, and as you should. The National Education Policy of 2020, also approved in 2020, really aims to expand these opportunities, India's global education opportunities. And I can speak from behalf of institutions in the United States. We're all excited to continue to create stronger relationships with institutions in India, because we need to have these conversations that reach across national boundaries, that reach across disciplinary boundaries, that bring together ideas that sometimes are disparate: digitalization, business, sustainability, and bring them all together, because that's the only way we're going to really together come up with solutions, innovative solutions to today's sincere issues that we are all facing. And that's what we do at IUPUI. And that's why at IUPUI, we specifically are using the UN Sustainable Development Goals to create more opportunities for international education and innovation. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing in regards to sustainability and sustainable development at IUPUI, because it's really become a cornerstone of our efforts in internationalization, in teaching, in research, in service, and engagement with the world. So as you all likely know, I'm sure you do, the UN Sustainable Development Goals are a universal call to achieve a sustainable future and promote equality and human rights and justice for all by 2030. Now, the chances of us achieving that are slim, but they are a good model, an ideal model for us all to use and to strive for. It provides a shared strategy for peace and prosperity for all people, for our planet, now and into the future. Now, actually, oftentimes the Sustainable Development Goals are misunderstood to be limited to environmental sustainability, but they're not, right? They promote economic, environmental, and social advancement of people and the planet. All of the things that you've been talking about today are somehow in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals. This collection of 17 interlinked goals that are designed to guide action on the most pressing issues. Everything from inequalities to climate change, peace and justice, technology, economy. And we all need to work together for these transnational challenges. Now, while they're separate, right, and often represented by 17 colorful boxes, we've all seen the images of the SDGs in these nice little contained boxes. I often have them behind me. Today, I have an image of Indianapolis at night, but we have they're represented as often separate, but they're actually interdependent and indivisible. To end poverty and other deprivations and so on, these go hand in hand with strategies that improve health, education, business models, digitalization, social inequalities. all of these things, economic disparities are all in alignment with the need to tackle climate change and preserve our surroundings. So the Sustainable Development Goals are clearly systemic. Sustainability is systemic. It can only be tackled by thinking about it from a variety of prisms, right? From different perspectives, from different angles. And also from angles that are as local as they are global. And for us, that's one of the real attractions to using the Sustainable Development Goals in our internationalization work, is because we recognize that they have impact in Indianapolis and around the world. And in Indiana, to be honest with you, they're very significant. Climate change is impacting our state significantly. We're not around water, but climate change is showing a significant increase in precipitation. And the hot days that we're encountering in Indiana are doubling, and they will double by 2050. We have a lot of agriculture in our state. Similar, to India, we have a lot of agriculture. And so it's actually truly impacting our business, our economy, our bottom line. In September, I was very fortunate to be in Dehradun, attending a conference on climate change, water issues, and sustainability in the Himalayan region. Again, global and local. Like the world, we in Indiana, we have multiple inequalities. We have a significant ranging life expectancy and infant mortality rates that are so significantly high in certain areas and so significantly low in others. We have a disparate public health funding system. We have racism, right? All of the issues that we have, that the world is facing, we certainly have as well in Indiana. And of course, COVID-19 has made some of our progression towards the Sustainable Development Goals. It's created impasses and it's reversed some of the progress. But the SDGs in sustainable development is not intended to be pursued in a vacuum. It can't be achieved without partnership. The 17th goal of the SDGs is partnership. Right. So, the type of pervasive problems that you've been talking about, we need disciplines, professions, communities, organizations, and governments working together. The goals cannot be achieved through unilateral development, but rather through mutual knowledge production, collaboration, using community assets. So just as the goals are interrelated, all of us at IUPUI and the many communities with whom we engage locally, nationally, and internationally need to take shared responsibility for these goals. And I particularly call on higher education to also commit to making the world a better place. Now, I'm not sure if you know, but in actually 2021, IUPUI was ranked #2 in the US and number 28 in the world for its commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals. And we're very, very proud of that. We want IUPUI to be recognized as a place for sustainability resources and expertise for our community and for our community and for the communities globally as well. We want all Jaguars, and that's what we call ourselves at IUPUI. We're the IUPUI Jags, the IUPUI Jaguars. We want all Jaguars to understand how sustainability solutions address the greatest impact of their chosen field of study, as well as the role they will play in championing these solutions in their workplaces. So we use the SDGs as a cornerstone of our internationalization efforts. And we encourage all faculty, all our staff, all our students, all IUPUI units to embrace sustainability in teaching, research, and service. And let me just explain one of the reasons we use the SDGs is for one, global education, global learning I think is misunderstood. I can say that at least from the perspective of the United States, and I think I've seen this elsewhere. Many times when you talk about global learning, people think that we're only talking about what's happening outside of our borders, right? That if you're engaging globally and internationally, you're not focusing nationally, you're not focusing locally, you're only thinking across borders. And I think in Indiana, you know, again, it could be seen that a international perspective detracts from attention to local communities. And this can't be farthest from the truth. And I want to reiterate that. It can't be farthest from the truth. Global education, global learning is everything about the local. Right? Because really one of our goals when you become internationally minded is to take that knowledge and bring it back home. And so, you know, global learning for us in Indiana is as much about Indiana as it is about the world. It is as much about us as it is about others. What makes it unique is that it's about the connections we have with the world, what our communities share with other countries, places, and people. Global learning prepares all our students for careers and lives in this interconnected world. Whether at IUPUI, our students end up in Marion County or Mumbai. Global learning and engagement is also about taking responsibility. And I do want to talk a little bit about this later, and finding a sense of commitment to improving the world, to making the world a better place. It's about expanding a sense of caring beyond our localized senses of self. It's about fostering an internationalized sense of commitment. Being global is also about working with others, figuring out solutions by integrating a diverse set of perspectives into cohesive solutions. It's about digging deep into issues and into oneself. Being a global scholar requires that you listen and learn from others. Being globally is inherently interdisciplinary, collaborative, and ultimately it's aimed at making our world, the world, all our worlds in which we live, better places by leveraging the collective process of knowledge production. And thus we use the SDGs because it allows us to do all of this. So they allow us to pursue global learning. They allow us to make connections with our local communities. They offer meaningful opportunities to seamlessly integrate our internationalization goals with IUPUI's deep commitment to diversity, inclusivity, and anti-discrimination at all forms. The SDGs are about local and global manifestations of difference that allow us to put inclusion and innovation into practice. So let me talk a little bit about innovation, because you've been talking about that as well today. I don't know if you're familiar with Daniel Pink. He's an author who wrote A Whole New Mind. And Daniel Pink, this is actually some years ago now, considers that the skills that will be mandatory for coming generations. He talks about this, and he feels that the left brain orientation of the information age and the knowledge economies may not be as important as it once was. We have technology that could do a lot of the linear, sequential, logical, analytical thinking that our left brains do. But what we really need now for innovation, for creativity, is we need the right brain. We need, if we're going to succeed in the future, it's those right brain qualities of inventiveness, empathy, joyfulness, meaning, the ability to detect patterns, to be innovative, to be artistic, to craft narratives, to contextualize and to combine seemingly unrelated ideas into a coherent new entity. The ability to see the big picture, right? To cross boundaries, to be able to put disparate pieces together, to see relationships, to be able to cross boundaries. That is the creativity that we need more than ever. We need students and leaders who think across boundaries, who transcend difference, who recognize the power of global engagement, who recognize that diversity makes us stronger, smarter. We also need to have a world that recognizes a greater sense of responsibility. So I'd like to transition and end with a discussion about that responsibility. And I'm going to share my screen for a moment if I can. Will I be able to share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I
If
see.
you-
Yep.
Yeah, share the screen.
Okay. Let me see if I can do this.
It's
Can you see
visible,
that?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So you've probably seen these before, right? We're often, I think there's questions of where they come from, who owns these dolls, but for many of the world, we know them as Russian Matryoshka dolls. And when we think about the world, right, we often think of ourselves and our identities as a set of Russian Matryoshka dolls. We have our neat little nests, whether they're communities, families, nations, or selves, which expand out from the self and the family in clearly defined concentric circles of meaning, right? Think about how you identify yourself. We often think about our identities in very concentric circles, right? From the local to yourself, to your family, and out to the world. However, the world is a lot more complex than that, right? We have multifaceted identities, and our lives and geographies are truly interconnected and complex. This reality, the complex, well, we'll call it a mess, the complexity that represents our interconnected 21st century lives is why we must develop global awareness so that we are able to analyze and think beyond our homes, think beyond our families and our communities, so we can see ourselves as connected and made up of relationships that transcend our institutions, our families, and local communities. As we know, though, global awareness is not just about knowing, right? We'd already talked about that. If we want to be just aware, if we want to be not just aware, but also be globally engaged citizens, globally responsible citizens, then we really need to stop thinking about our responsibilities in concentric circles too. Oops, I did that wrong. There is a persistent emphasis, right, on the smallest dolls, those little dolls down there, those little ones, right? And if we use these as a metaphor, you know, that would be your ego, yourself, and it goes out in concentric circles to your family, your nation, your ethnicity, your religion, your world, and the globe. It continues to go out in how you identify. But when you think about responsibility and caring, there is an emphasis on the smallest dolls to be the most iconic and purest point of responsibility and caring, right? If someone would ask you, where do you care the most? It would probably be down there, right? It's where the commitment is the strongest. It's often between a parent or a child and a loved one and a family member. It's often distilled to sort of one geographic area. But this can be a problem when you want to think about the world, because Doreen Massey reminds us that responsibility derives from the same relationships in which our identities are created. So if we can articulate those complex webs in which we identify who we are, then we may be able to begin to pull upon and activate responsibilities beyond the smallest Matryoshka doll. If we can begin to see ourselves like this, spread beyond immediate places, we all need to, it's much easier to have a broader sense of responsibility, of caring, of understanding our roles in responsibility, rather in sustainability. We all need to see our lives, ourselves, our professions, our education as interconnected and global. Then and only then will it be a small step to create stronger relationships with others around the world. Only then can we have a sense of responsibility that is as global as it is local. Only then will we be in positions to learn together, create knowledge together, innovate together, and collectively contribute to making the world a better place. And that's what we're trying to do at IUPUI. And why we're so delighted to partner with institutions around the world like Amity. We are a campus that is committed to our local community, and we are a campus that is fully committed to our global community. We may appear as Midwestern and American as you can get, but we at IUPUI provide not only a superior education, but a global one. And only through a global education can we build a sustainable future for generations to come. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon.
Ma'am, thank you so much. That was so enriching. The way you, I loved the pictorial representation that you did. That was so amazing. I think all the students and faculty members here have been completely enriched with your words of wisdom. Ma'am, one question which comes to my mind is, if I can, due to COVID, and now if I may say so, it's a post-COVID world. So do you think how the universities are coping up with international relations, international students? Because still there is a lot of fear amongst these students that whether we should or we should not cross border. As digitalization is placed, there are online classes. So do you think that the students are still looking at United States of America or Europe as a feasible destination to come and do a physical classroom and be present in the physical sort of university? What is in that regard, if you can throw some light, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I don't think there's a better time to come to the United States to study, if I can be as bold as to say that. You know, I feel that COVID-19 really taught us a lot, right? It taught us the need to be more creative with our digital platforms and our digital technologies. And it really recognized, I mean, I've always said this, you cannot do international education without technology in the 21st century. I mean, I was saying this long ago before COVID hit, but with the pandemic, we learned that really important role and how we need to be so creative of finding ways to use technology to engage others in meaningful ways, not just as an interface, but truly create sort of human-to-human interaction through technology. Human-computer interaction is critical. It's actually a strength of ours in our School of Informatics. And, you know, but at the same point, we also learned how much it matters to be with somebody in person. And I'm sorry, I go back and forth. I'm a cultural anthropologist. So there was a time where I truly felt that you could not really get an immersive understanding of culture or really a deep knowledge through technology. I thought you had to be there, right? You had to immerse yourself in a culture. But I've really changed my mind on that. And I've taught many, many courses that are interactive, actually. And I see the benefits of connecting. I've taught a course with Russia, with Indonesia, with Macedonia, with interactive, video. And I see the engagement that my students can have if done right? If done well, if structured in a way where you can really create the opportunities for students to engage. So I think we've really learned that role. But at the same point, I think the pandemic has demonstrated how much can be done when people are around when there's a social facet to the professional engagement that we need, that there is something very beneficial, very innovative when a whole person, not just a two-dimensional person on a screen, but when a whole person can bring themselves to a table and really dig into an issue. A lot of that can be replicated online, but there is nothing like the opportunities that you would get in a in-person education.
Right.
At a place like IUPUI, you would have access to amazing businesses in our state economic hub of Indianapolis. You would have opportunities to meet with people, not just people from Indiana, but from people from around the world.
Right.
We have 140 nations represented at IUPUI. It is truly global. And there's only, the issue is sometimes with staying virtual is that you often end up connecting more with people like yourself.
Right, ma'am. So well explained. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Anchors,
Yep.
please.
I am beyond grateful to you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for those influential words.
Now, I would like to introduce a leader in business analytics, Sir Vivek Chaturvedi. Vivek Chaturvedi, sir, is an experienced business and analytics leader at Kotak Mahindra Bank with 15 years of experience in using data and analytics to increase revenue, manage risk, and improve operational efficiency. He has a good understanding and experience of business functions of sales, operation, and risk management in banks. He is also skilled at establishing a leading function with capabilities in statistics, coding, data analytics and presentation, and system development. He is an experienced stakeholder management at various levels in organization up to CEO and management of cross-functional teams. With an undergraduate degree in statistics BSc at Banaras University, Varanasi, he was a topper of his batch. And then he went to pursue his postgraduate diploma in management at Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Sir, I would request you to come and address the virtual audience.
So thanks a lot for that kind introduction. At the outset, I would want to thank the entire management of MIT University, especially Dr. Vashish and Dr. Kedia for giving this opportunity, and also the students who are present here. I can see 242 attendees. Listening to someone is also sharing your time. So I have a slide to share. I'll share my screen. Yes.
Yes, it's visible.
And approximately how much time do I have?
Sir, your words of wisdom can go up to whatever you want, sir.
Okay, so kind of you. So this topic is, when I got this invitation, I read this topic and it's a very apt topic according to me. And it's also very well defined and structured. These things, digitalization, innovation, transformation, and of course, sustainability are interconnected in today's world, right? And there's a sequence to it. That sequence is very important. Now, what I plan to do is that spend some time on each of these individual words and try to explain from my perspective, right, that what does it mean, what's the implication. And then towards the end, leave the stage open for some questions from the students, because I have assumed certain things that these are the topics the students would be interested in knowing, but I am not a believer of assumptions. So I would rather hear directly and test the hypothesis. So before we jump onto these definitions, etc., I would just want to show you some pictures, right? So this is picture 1. Now the audience is not sitting here, so I know they cannot answer the question, but it's a railway station. It's a booking counter of a railway station. And this is IRCTC web ticket, right? So this is something which was in the year 2000, 2002. So these pictures are, I mean, you can't see me in these pictures, but I have stood in those queues somewhere, right? So the point I'm trying to make through these pictures is that I'm not talking from some book which was published by some author somewhere. This is our life. All of us have experienced this life. People who are older than me have experienced more. People who are younger have experienced less. But invariably, all of us can relate to the pictures, which we'll see further. This is how a bookstore used to look like. Somewhere for me in the year 2000, the previous one was like 2002, this one was like 2007, 2008, and this is how it started looking like, right? So there was one aspect of life which was travel, second aspect of life which is buying something, third aspect, this is a very important aspect of my life. I used to stay in Delhi in the year 2006. I used to work for State Bank of India, and Delhi is a large, and it's not a city, right? It's a state, but it's also city state. It's a very large city. So I had a map with me, and I had a bike, and I used to travel from one point to another. It's so large, no, you can't just know the places. And if you're traveling towards, say, on a summer afternoon, you'll not have too many people. There are many parts in Delhi where there's no person who can, you can ask directions to. So I used to carry a map with me. I just carry in my bike in a bag. I would stop at a place, open the bag, then unfold the map, read the map, go ahead. And of course, that's some history. I mean, I'm not sure how many of you have ever seen a map of a city. You would have seen map of a country or a state. Not sure if you've seen map of a city, right? And I'm not sure if you have a map of a smaller city. While you still have a map of a Delhi, will you have a map ever of Thane? I stay in Thane. Or will you have a map ever of a smaller town in UP, say Mirzapur, right? Don't think it exists. This is the way we used to look at maps somewhere in 2012. So it's a continuous thing. It's not happened in a day, right? It is continuous. Every few years, some aspect of the life has become digital. Now, so that brings us to the question, what exactly is digital? So I thought, let me look at some definition by the experts. So Gartner says, if you read the definition on the left-hand side, is that it's basically, you are improving the processes of a business. I'm talking in the context of business, but that's true in other contexts as well. That's true in the context of teaching as well, right? There's a process. There's an interface. Someone is interacting with someone else. Now, businesses look at themselves as process. So if you go to a bank, there are departments, or for any other organization for that matter, there are departments. Within departments, there are processes. There's step 1, step 2, step 3. At the initial days, people think that it's very small part of the process. So that's how it starts, right? So in the second picture, which you see on your screen, that's picture of a teller in a bank. So for a bank, this is a process. Someone comes to withdraw money. There are 3-4 steps which you have to follow, right? Now, what happens that these processes change one by one, right? So if you have watched the movie Terminator, like people of my generation have watched, I'm not sure the current generation, and there's a scene in that movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is the protagonist, who is the Terminator, he changes, his form changes, right? Very quickly. So this is how business is changing very quickly. And what is innovation? Innovation means creating something new, which did not exist. Creating something new is incremental. You don't create something new all of a sudden. It's not that till yesterday there was no digital, no Google, no Facebook, right? No YouTube, and all of a sudden today it has happened. It's not that way. It gradually increases. It's incremental. And when it is incremental, it means that all of us have plenty of opportunity to learn it and to contribute to it. Since the audience here is students, right? So I'm slightly inclined towards also being in a mode of advising. I mean, the voice is not being sought, but I kind of assume that it's a platform where you can probably benefit from it. So it's incremental, it is steady, and all of us can observe and contribute. Now, internet in this context of business has exploded. Now, there were time when I remember I used to go to a cyber cafe, and then there's one cyber cafe which was like 7-8 kilometers from my home, and then there were 5 people standing outside and 10 people sitting inside, and the speed was so slow that you had to wait for a page to load. It wasn't like today that there's a web page and you click and the second web page and third. It wasn't like that. To click on a link, it will take its sweet time of 3 to 4 minutes, and then you have to sit there. So we used to go as in groups. I mean, I would always go with my friend so that I don't get bored while the time I can chat to him. Right? So that was what it was. And you see on the graph what is the number of individual using internet. This is a graph for India. And what is the percentage? Now, India is a very large country and mostly a poor country. In a poor country, 43-44% people today, this is a 2020 data, have internet access, right? Talk of compute power. Computers were slow. You could not still open large Excel sheets, but even back then, computers were slow. If you open an Excel sheet and you have a formula in it, and you type the formula and you drag it downwards to copy, the system would hang, right? So imagining that it will be possible at this scale, it could not be imagined. But then came cloud computing around same time period, 1999 onwards. Salesforce, AWS, then you have Azure, Google Cloud Platform. Now what it does is, it's a huge computer, which is like a rented place. Someone who needs to travel, walks in. It's like a big bus. The bus is moving, but you walk in and walk out. So you're only using for the time you need it. And therefore it allows same capacity to be used by more people, right? And the compute power is huge. For those who are familiar, laptops have a RAM of 4 GB. I had a laptop of 16 GB RAM 5 years ago. It was considered, others were envious of me. RAM capacity here is 64 GB. So in terms of processing power, it's very fast, which allows you to do a lot of things. So I'm showing these things that there are innovations which have happened in technology, right? And there's another part, data analytics, the field I work in. So I remember that when I was in college, we used to use SPSS. It was a pathetic, I have nothing against SPSS, pathetic software, very slow, user-friendly, not user-friendly. It would look, right. You would not want to look at the screen. It's so confusing. And you have so many languages now. You have Python, R, Java, Scala. Now, the good thing about these languages increasingly is that it's very strong. It's a powerful language. It contains 4 lines of code, and you can do something in 4 lines of code, which would otherwise take a lot of time. Now, those who are interested in this field can go further and pursue. And then there's smartphone. Everyone has a smartphone, right? And the graph tells the number of applications. It went down because they cracked down some fake apps, but it has gone down. Now, in 2009 or 10, I had a friend who had a Samsung phone, and I asked him, why do you need a smartphone or a phone like this, which is a touch screen? And he said, I can download app. And I asked, what is an app? So I did not know what's an app. So it's an application. What does it do? Right? Those were the questions I had. So those of you who can relate to will see that things have changed. Now no one will ask that question. Now what happens because of innovation in technology? Businesses use technology, right? Some for a bank, and I'm speaking from a perspective of a bank, what can it do for you? What is the innovation here? This is a process innovation. So the image you are seeing, the left image is a letter of, it's an invoice. Okay, so your business in bank where you have, you look at an invoice, it's a proof that someone has dispatched a good and they'll get money. On the right hand side, what you see is an e-invoice. Same information recorded in the server of a computer. So because of that, what happens, you don't have to go to a branch. If you have a physical invoice, you would go to a branch, and there's something called invoice discounting in bank. So suppose there's a businessman A who's going to get, say, 100,000 rupees as payment 3 months from now. He can go to the bank will say, okay, I'll give you 95,000 rupees now, 5% lesser than that. That's a business. Now, in electronic invoice, do you need to go to a branch? The answer is no. Do you need paper? The answer is no. How much time does it take? So suppose I have to go and go to a branch. I will not go for one invoice. I'll wait for 3 or 4 to accumulate, right? So like 3 to 4 days time at my end. Then I'll travel, and traveling, if you have been in large cities, you know how it is, how painful it is. You have to go to the branch. The branch person is also not free because everyone has come to him. So it will, as a result, this process would take days, which is now done in minutes. Right? So this is the process innovation which banks have done, right? Online branch, paperless, time is short. Now there used to be a manual verification. So if you have ever gone to a branch and withdrawn money from there, you have to sign. You put your signature on the check. Okay. And in the olden days, it was believed that you can't forge a signature. It's a very easy thing to do. I mean, branch employees are not handwriting experts. The onus on verifying that the document is genuine was on an employee who is not a handwriting expert, who cannot really do that. And there's a lot of risk of fraud happening. So these elements, right, what have they done? They have reduced the need of a physical space. They have reduced or eliminated the need of paper and documents. They have reduced the time, and they have made it more secure. So the question is, if you don't need a branch and paper and time, etc., right? Why do you need a branch in a bank? But this is second part, which is about the benefits, right? What has been the benefit in the industry I belong to? So process innovation also leads to a product innovation, right? Now, what's a product here? A product here is a loan which can be given to very small companies. So from banking parlance, we have various products, like housing loan for us is a product. We call it a product. Credit card is called a product. Similarly, business loan is called a product. So it has some features like every product. So you say, okay, what is the minimum amount? What is the tenure? What is the interest rate? Now, all that can change now because of that change in the process itself. So imagine a medium or a micro enterprise. So from medium, we have gone to funding of micro enterprise. So India is a poor country, and there are a lot of micro enterprises, as you see on the second picture. It's a typical Kirana store. Now this Kirana store needs money to go and buy stock. Now they have to replenish the stock. I and you and go and buy something. Now to buy stock, they need money, right? The banks won't give them money. They have very little money with themselves. So what do? So they go and buy stock in small quantities. Stock for half a day, 1 day, right? Not more than stock for 5 days because they don't have money. So this has allowed banks to create products for micro enterprises, right? The second challenge which businesses face, smaller businesses, is they don't have something called collateral. So in banking, there's a primary security and the collateral security. A collateral security is something which you give to the bank in case the borrower defaults, the bank can sell it. Now, poor people don't have a lot of property, right? They don't have warehouses and farmhouses and homes, so they don't get loan. Now here, this technology allows banks to look at the cash flow. Even a fruit vendor now uses Paytm and Google Pay. So a bank wants to they can look at what is the money coming in their account. And since the perceived risk has gone down, the interest rate which was being charged has also gone down. So I have a new product. The product says loan for 5 days. Loan, and there are startups who do that, right? Loan for 20 hours. Interest rate for you is 6.995. Interest rate for me is 7.992. You can do that because the customers, you can see them very clearly. And the feature says no property required. Now that transformation, so far we have looked at transformation of a bank, and we have believed that, okay, there's like 15 channels, there are 5 channels. One of that channel where the customer interaction happens is my branch, right? And one of those channel is digital, and third channel is an ATM. So people will go and to ATM and withdraw money. Well, you don't need ATM, you don't need branch. You can just operate if you have some code, some software, and you have some network. You go and meet people. So there's some names here, Mintify and Active AI, etc. These are companies which are new companies. They have been created in 4, 5, 7, 10 years. What is their business model? They don't own that money. They connect people. So there's a seller and there's a buyer, and the buyer has promised that they will pay the seller after 3 months. Active AI tells them, okay, I know a bank will pay you now. So Active AI is not their money, it's money of some other bank. But everyone is present on this platform, which is like an Amazon, which is a platform. There's a seller, there's a buyer. Now these companies exist, they're only digital, and they're very, very fast in scaling up. If you need to set up a branch, you need to find a place, and you have to negotiate the rent agreement, this and that, and a lot of stuff. Here, you don't need any of that. It is no physical presence and no documentation. There is only digital. It is much faster. It's very, very easy. So I used to work for, I keep on, narrating this story. It's a sad story. I used to work for State Bank of India in the 2006. I was posted in a town called Firozabad. It's in Western UP. And I was responsible for opening saving bank accounts. And then the people would come and then they would visit the branch every day, which is kind of strange, but there are people who visit the branch every day. The first day, a gentleman came and he said that I want to open branch and account, and then was denied. And second day and third day, every time, because he did not have a document which the bank wanted. So after 7 days, he came to me and told that I'm quoting, I'm translating what he said. Sir, my age is 27 years. I have lived in this village all my life. I have never gone anywhere out of it. But I could not prove to your bank that I live here. And I failed. I could not get a bank. That was the reality. I'm sure you would not even imagine this, that you have to prove something like this. You have your PAN card, your Aadhaar card, you place your fingerprints, you scan, done. So it has completely transformed, right? So transformation is not restricted to process, it's changing the landscape, new companies. Now, we have gone and we have looked at the digital definition, innovation, and transformation, etc. The next question is the sustainability, right? What are we talking about? What sustainability of what? Right? I mean, there are a lot of things which have to be sustained, some things have to be changed. Are we talking of the business to be sustained, or we are talking about the society? Are we talking about the environment? Mostly people talk about, and I wanted to stay focused, so I'll say about the business. So this is an example of a business which has shut down, does not exist anymore. Was a star, a new age company in the early 2000s. In cities like Agra, there was a mob and they had police force to stop people from entering Big Bazaar, bankrupt. And the second image is a data center. So while we are talking of all cloud computing and big data and this and that, it doesn't come for free. There's a cost to the environment. Right? When you have a lot of data centers, the servers, it becomes hot, they dissipate heat. So you have cooling requirements, you have power requirement, you need electricity to run all of it. So therefore, it's very important for businesses also to think of sustainability of the planet, right? You have to find out, and I'm sharing this with all the students because I believe many of you very soon would be in business and would have to make these choices, not just for yourself, for others. The choice you will make will affect lives of people who are people around you and who are people at distance, right? The economy is a connected economy. So sustainability of the environment is very important. Sustainability of business is also very important. right? I mean, we have seen news in the media now about layoffs at Twitter, Meta, right, and other companies. So how can a business be sustainable? That's a very serious thought. Business will be sustainable if it is innovative. If businesses do not innovate, do not adopt, they will perish. So that's a very important point. And finally, the summary. Digital is ever expanding. It is not restricted to one field. I have shown you very few pictures. I can show you 300 times the pictures, and I don't need to. You can take a cue and then look about any aspect of your life. And sports is also digital. And people play cricket online, game is online, right? Most of human activity is digital. I mean, a large number of it. Travel is digital. Now we are talking about virtual reality. But within businesses, it's also expanding. Businesses are constrained by the thought that, oh, this can be digitized, the other part can't be. So is it possible that we have a different workflow for different customers in a bank? So when you make a payment from Google Pay, there are 2 or 3 steps, right? But when a business makes payment, the process is longer. Like someone has 8 steps, someone has 10 steps. Is it possible for every customer, right? I customize number of steps, the screen they see, the document the bank wants for, because some customer is very trustworthy, some customer is not. Innovation has to be quick and simple. It cannot be slow. If you're saying I am working on a project, if you go to a company and you start working as a data analyst, business analyst, and you say I am working on a project which will give results 1 year from now, we don't have patience. Sorry. We want results in matter of hours. You have got cloud computing, you have internet, you have free knowledge, you have online courses. Go study, learn. I want result tomorrow. And it has to be simple. You can't say, oh, I took so long, but see what I've created, great. No, that won't work for most of the places. It might work at few places, but the speed is much faster. And we have, nowadays, if I remember there were times when in one of my previous companies was a project which was 4 year long. So it started documentation, this, that, user testing, 4 years. Nowadays, students like you create companies in 4 years and get a valuation of $1 billion. They become unicorn in 4 and 5 years. So those days are gone, right? And no one likes complicated stuff. Keep it simple. And this transformation has created opportunities, multiple opportunities, right? It's a question of, are you skilling yourself? Imagine that since it is digital, well, you can sit in India, work for a company in Germany or US or Japan. And many of us, in either case, don't sleep so early. People get up at 12 and sleep at 12 nowadays. So you can work for a company in UK and you can learn those technologies. It's the same language. I mean, that's not a barrier anymore. If you have to interact with people, language is still a barrier. But in this field, it's same R, same Python, same Scala. In fact, you can do better. But what's most important, according to me, is don't consume all of it now. Leave something for the future generations. The speed at which we are consuming, the results are visible to all of us. What has happened, that textbook things is in front of us, right? I mean, it's not on TV news channel, it is in front of us. It's not in a book. It is just outside the room you're sitting in. All you have to do is, step out. That's all. You'll see it. You don't have to read about it. So with that, I'll conclude. And I will be very thankful if anyone has any questions.
Vivek sir, first of all, so enriching. The way you spoke about process, product, innovation, the new model of sustainability, the opportunities that has been created, and how in 4 years people are creating unicorns. I think students at large have been completely benefited with how And I completely loved the pictorial representation of how we used to be in line for railway reservation, and now it's it's completely online. Things have changed, the business model have changed. One of few of the questions I have received from the students is, see, the curriculum is changing, the textbook is changing, the business model is changing. So, and it's being done very rapidly, right? So how it is possible for students to actually cope up with such rapid changing world? What all advice or key points that you want to give to students so that they can adapt to this rapidly changing world in terms of business innovation and digitalization?
So the good thing is that while it's changing, it's also, as I said, incremental, and the core remains the same. You know, so the core of logic remains same. So there's a coding language which will change, but whichever coding language it is, the steps will be changed, will be same. The but the channel of interaction has changed, but as Ms. Hillary spoke, expectation of human beings remains same, right? So she spoke about empathy. Now, whether it was 10 years ago or whether it is now, I would really like people who are empathetic to me. I would really like someone who's kind to me. It doesn't mean that that will change. So I believe that for students, it's important to work on the core concepts, whether it's in maths, whether it's in business management, whether it is, so sales remains same. How do you sell something? To sell something, either your product is better. So product innovation remains same. So Gurcharan Das is an author who was MD of Procter and Gamble, and he wrote a book called India Unbound, which was his experience when he had joined that company as a management trainee somewhere in 1970s or 1960s. He says that he used to go and sell wigs, and he realized in the first few years of his job that either you have a product which is better product at the same price, or you have a same product at a lower price, right? So that's a core fundamental that does not change. Now, if you go and work in sales, right, people like someone who is consistent. That does not change, right? In marketing, you have to know what your customer wants. That does not change. That remains the same. So till the time you are good at that core and you're good at one technology, you can learn the other technology. Because what happens that when you would want to go for a job interview, for example, right? Now you can't be good at all things. But if you're good at one and you're able to convince the person on the other side, or if you become, you have a startup and you went to the, say, venture capitals for raising money, you have to convince them that your course and fundamentals are strong.
Right, right. Vivek sir, that was an apt answer. Now, I uh, uh, I know you personally, and we have known each other for a very long time now. I just wanted to, uh, uh, I just want request you to kindly share your, varied experience in terms of how you have enriched yourself on, and how have you grown in terms of your from management trainee to vice president, so that the students can, some take some important qualities that they should have in order to grow in the corporate.
So I'll say that some of the success which comes to one individual is result of their own effort. A lot of all, it's also attributable to the surrounding, right? Not all good things happen because of me. Some good things happened because I was lucky. So I used to work in a education company. From there, I wanted to go to financial services sector. I got an entry because I had a friend whom I knew, right? So that's very important for everyone to network with good people. When I landed up there, I was thrown a challenge. I took it up. That was in sales. So I used to do sales of corporate NCDs, debt capital market, etc. I did for more than a year. All the primary markets. So I met all the mutual funds, the investment officers. Now that was the need of the company in that time. All of a sudden, they told me that from sales you have to switch to operations, and I did that. I mean, happily, because the second lesson is when the companies pay you, and you're an employee or a customer pays you, and in business, you have to do what they want. You can't go and say that, okay, while you want to work me to work in operations, I don't like that. I want to work in HR, and there's no opening in HR. So that is important, that you look at what is the need of the firm. That is second point. Now, the third thing is that, of course, you have to keep on learning new stuff, because we have discussed that at length. The fourth thing I have seen is that one has to be entrepreneurial. Doing it because someone told you, those jobs are gone. So being responsive, right? Those jobs where you were appreciated for being responsive are fewer. The chance is that you don't respond, you are proactive. So I'll give an example of being responsive. The responsive means that you are working in a branch, in a bank, and customers are coming, and then you're making payment to them, and you're creating demand drafts, etc. Right? So anyone who was very responsive and fast in doing what was asked of them were rewarded. But now customers don't go to branch. So if you are responsive and it was asked to, those jobs don't exist, right? So now you have to be more entrepreneurial. You have to think of the possible solution and try to get it. Now that varies from organization to organization. Every different organization has their own culture. Right?
Right.
So you can't fit the same rules, but I think being adaptive is very, very important. Even now, machines don't make major decisions. Human beings make those
Right,
decisions.
sir. Right.
Right.
So
So you have to be able to convince the human beings.
So that was a wonderful and apt answer to my question. I think students have been highly benefited. Over to anchors, please.
Thank you so much, sir. This was indeed inspiring.
Talent and skills are the crops that are nurtured, groomed, and given all possible opportunities to grow and bloom. We are pleased to announce the Best Paper Award. We received in total 100 papers from top-notch B schools like IIM, ISB, XLRI, SP Jain, including companies like Deloitte, KPMG, Reliance, Tata Group, and many more. Out of several papers, we were selected on the basis of content, conciseness, and quality. There were 2 technical sessions held where we had presentations by scholars which were judged by a panel of industrialists and academicians. We had with us Mr. Sunil Srivastav, Head HR Britannia Industry, as a guest of honor for the session.
Now, we would like to announce the result of the Best Paper Award. And the winners are: the first prize goes to Dr. Bhuvnesh Kumar Sharma, the faculty of Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune. And the second prize goes to Ms. Soumya Tiwari, research scholar at Christ University, Bangalore. Congratulations, both of you. Now, I would request the winners to share their experience with the gathering.
Right. Yes. Soumya ji and Bhuvnesh ji. Right.
Hello, so am I audible?
Yes, yes. Bhuvnesh ji, you may go ahead.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much, the entire organizing team, for this wonderful honor. Thank you so much, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. V.K. Sharma, sir. Thank you so much, MD Kaushik, sir, for Pro Vice Chancellor. And Professor Anil Basist, sir, Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, Amity University, and Amity Business School Director. It's really a privilege and it's really an honor to present a paper in this wonderful conference. It's a very close topic, as I was listening to Mr. Vivek Chaturvedi sir as well. Though no business will exist in this world now without digitalization, innovation, and sustainability. So it's very apt topic, very relevant in the present time. So I'll compliment to the entire organizing team for selecting this topic and going forward to this conference. To my experience with this conference, it's wonderful. The things, the papers has been presented in this conference are very much aligned with the theme that has been there in the conference. And the organizing team, especially the Anand sir, the Parihar sir, and the Vedi sir, I mean, they have given us an opportunity to open up even before the presentation session. So they have cleared all the doubts which were having, that, when we present, what is our schedule and all that thing. So it's really a great experience, I think, for me overall. So one thing that I was missing, like, I really wanted to meet everyone in person, because that is something is different actually, right? So yeah, that's what, otherwise, it's a fantastic experience. And thank you so much to the entire team for this once again. Thank you very much.
So I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor of MITI University, Madhya Pradesh, Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma, sir, respected Pro Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Dr. M.D. Kaushik, and respected Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Anil Vashish, sir, for giving me the opportunity to present my paper. I'm truly honored and I'm very privileged and blessed. So thank you so much once again. It's truly an experience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of MIT Business School, we would like to give our guests memento as a token of gratitude and appreciation.
Firstly, Madam Hilary Eaton. Congratulations, ma'am. Secondly, Vivek Chaturvedi, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request our very own Dr. Naresh Kedia, convener of the international conference, to give concluding remarks.
Thank you so much. At the outset, respected Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, sir, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Vivek, sir, for joining in. Thank you to Hilary, ma'am. Throughout the day, we had number of keynote speakers who spoke about innovation, digitalization, and sustainability in business around the globe. Post-COVID era has been very challenging in terms of recovering what we have lost during the COVID. The keynote has covered all the length and breadth of the different issues and opportunity that we have in hand. And this must be very enriching for students and faculty at Amit University, Madhya Pradesh. The conclusion is we all have to strive hard. The Indian economy is flourishing. We are growing at a very fast pace. And overall, India is poised for a big flight. I think time is running out, so I'll keep it short. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. This was beyond grateful to you.
We have Professor Dr. Anil Vashish, Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor of MIT University, Madhya Pradesh, and Director of MIT Business School. Here, I welcome him to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, anchors. Before I start with the vote of thanks, my sincere thanks and gratitude to Mr. Vivek. It has been a fantastic session, and I'm sure the student will be benefited by it. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, sir.
It has been a proud moment for all of us today at the international conference. And I believe the topic on digitization, transformation, innovation and sustainability in business management and social sciences is towards its extremely successful culmination. I consider it a privilege to propose a vote of thanks. My thanks goes to the speakers who have joined us in the inaugural session. Professor William Cornwall, the Provost, American University in the Emirates, Dubai. Professor Dr. Vivek Suneja, Dean, Faculty of Management Studies, Delhi University. Madam Gayatri Sharma, Head of Communication, India and South Asia, Rolls-Royce. Professor Michael Keppel, Higher Education Consultant, Sydney, Australia. I thank them for their benign presence and share their invaluable ideas on innovation and sustainability. We are honored to have all of them. I would also like to register my sincere thanks and humbleness to our dynamic Chancellor, Dr. Asim Chauhan, for his blessings and support that has always been extended towards Amity University, Madhya Pradesh. I would also like to thank the man at the helm of the university, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma, for his constant motivation, guidance, and support. My sincere thanks to our Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. M.P. Kaushik, for his continuous support and encouragement during the conference. Well, a conference like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels started rolling long back. A conference of such magnitude requires a lot of planning and an eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by Team ABS. So I will start with thanking both of the conveners, Dr. Naresh Kedia and Dr. Sandeep Raghuvanshi, for their untiring efforts and hard work for this conference. My thanks also goes to the other faculty coordinators, Dr. Asta Joshi, Dr. Anil Parihar, Dr. Anand Shrivastava, Dr. Ajiv Divedi, who have also extended their support in terms of guiding the students, motivating them, and finally shaping up to the end of this conference, and to all other faculty members who have directly and indirectly supported us in terms of making this conference a great success. My congratulations also to all the student coordinators, especially the anchors of the inaugural session, as well as for the validity session, who have done it great by welcoming our guests and finally putting us through all these sessions. Most importantly, to all dear students who have been listening to us live on YouTube and on Zoom and are a part of this great institution of Amity. Thank you once again. I thank you all.
Thank you, sir. The end of a story is the new beginning for many others. On this note, let's conclude a remarkable, memorable, and knowledgeable valedictory session. On behalf of the institution, we sincerely thank the dignitaries for being with us this evening and enlightening us with their enthusiastic remarks. I share my heartfelt gratitude to the professors and students for their wholehearted support rendered in the success of this valedictory session. Thank you for being the patient audience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Arvindji, you may close the session, please.